Thanks for joining me, Sunshine.
I'm glad to be here.
Man.
Great to be with you, Matthew.
You're a good friend of mine, and I always enjoy our talks.
Yeah, no kidding. We've traveled some great distances
We
with
do.
our conversations.
We tend to speak the same language, you know.
It seems to be.
And have a lot of similar interests and stuff. But you've had such a wonderfully unique life, you know. And I think you have some really valuable insights on psychedelics, and I've always been so curious about the evolution your perception of the evolution you've witnessed, you know, just through the course of your life of psychedelics and the role they play in society, the impact they've had. You know, I think you've got a view on that. That's
I honestly, you know, I don't really see a whole lot of evolution.
No.
It seems like the same revolutionary act that it was, you know, back in 1966 or whatever, you know, when people were bravely trying something that they'd never experienced before,
brand
and
new.
hugely, you know, huger doses with much, you know, intensely pure stuff too. Like,
Right.
think about the intense heroic doses that people went through without ever having any knowledge of that kind of thing
No
beforehand.
context.
Yeah, right. Which is incredible to
That
me.
is.
You know,
It's
whereas
brave.
nowadays a 20-year-old can be like, I've read about this, I've heard about this, there's this big bank of knowledge about it. And sometimes that creates bad preconceptions, you know, unfortunately. But at least it's not completely alien.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
where
a
you feel-
significant difference.
Yeah.
Right?
So to me, you know, I look back at what our forebears went through, and you know, it's pretty remarkable. The chutzpah and, you know, and the actual great vibes that were achieved during those times too. You know, I'm sure there was some ragged bad trips, but most experiences, it sounds like, were pretty positive, even with like people taking like 4 hits for the first time in their life. You know what I mean? That could really freaking melt you down. And,
So your memories of when you kind of flash, you know, kind of pan through them, that's your general impression, huh? When you look back, it was pretty well handled, and
I just think that people seemed to react to that kind of new experience with quite a good cheer and you know, just giddy readiness for the new day. You know, there was that it was revolutionary, and here nowadays kids are just throwing big salad bowls full of any drug they can find and saying this is our, you know, our revolutionary act, you know, and so to me it's kind of unfortunate that it's kind of lost its pioneering spirit a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because it's not new ground in general.
Yes.
Obviously every human being is new ground for their experience of themselves, but out as a social act with your friends or whatever, it's been done. You know.
Oh yeah, fully.
And,
So it holds maybe a different primary intention.
Yes, it's just different. You know, I think that it's just different, and so you know, it's being used for partying and recreation so much that I don't think a lot of people expect it to be life changing. You know, which is cool. I love to see people get surprised.
Fun has its value, right?
You know, that's the
recreation is spiritual.
Well, the inherent prankster spirit of LSD. You know, it's gonna sneak up on you and kick you in the ass.
It will. Good nut shot there.
Exactly. So, you know, that's lovely, and that's why I say I think it hasn't really changed that much. It's the same. It delivers the same smack to your psyche that you might need to, you know, shake off this dream that we're all immersed in.
Nice, yeah. I mean, the state of psychedelics, isn't it amazing, the shift in, I just think, general just social acceptance of it. To me, the speed of it's been making my head spin around.
Well, you know,
I mean,
unfortunately, it has been on a slow track for a really long time, and you know, the whole prohibition has really done damage, you know, and very unfortunate, you know, that we're just now clinically able to even have a study done. You know, it's ridiculous, and I'm sure that's baloney in itself too. You know, that I'm sure all those studies were done ages ago, and we're just not privy as the public to what was learned.
You got put in the can there.
Oh, totally.
For good, what, 5 decades?
Exactly, yes. And so, yeah, it's neat to be seeing us crawling out from under a rock as far as a accepting society of the psychedelic experience. Because for a long time we were just being programmed that was that was bad. To do anything like that and to tinker with your brain was just a terrible gamble, and you could be in a vegetable state afterwards. And, you know what I mean? All these thoughts. I went to health class.
You remember that being
school.
heavy when you were coming up? Yeah.
It was Nancy Reagan times.
Oh yeah.
Just so there was a lot of bad information being pumped out to the youth about what doing anything altering your consciousness was wrong. And just that's we're undoing that with some of this science and clinical trial and seeing such wonderful results with people using psychedelics to reverse things that all of our Zoloft and all of our other things have not been able to deal with. They're finally going, wow, this is actually helping with intractable depression or PTSD or whatever, which is just marvelous. I'm so thrilled to have lived long enough to see that.
What a fantastic transition to witness, right?
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's. It's like it was steady building and pushing and quiet, and people sacrificing quietly behind the scenes, until it hit kind of a certain threshold. Yeah. I feel like, and then. Or maybe there was a collective readiness now.
There's a lot of people who are dead set against it still. Don't think there isn't a lot of people who are really programmed to hate anything that smacks of that.
Yeah, I do live in a bit of a bubble. We both do big time.
Yeah, no, I grew up with lots of bias against alternative culture, and I still run into it today. Even in my town, people are biased against Ken Kesey, that he is a bad influence and that he was a druggie and that we shouldn't celebrate somebody like that in our own town. Like there's, people who really feel strongly about that. And
how does that show up? And just people, what they express to you? Or?
Yes, they write letters to the editor. Why do we have a statue of this man downtown? He's a bad influence. He went to jail. He ruined lots of people's lives, whatever. That's the narrative.
In Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah. Well, like I was, saying about the whole reputation of the Grateful Dead, too, and their following in their hometown of San Francisco gets the same treatment. It's the same thing. It's like in your own hometown, they still have a bad attitude that's left over from, like, the 50s. It's just like, oh no, them bad commie hippies, they're here to undo all of our family values and, really, steal our youth and turn them against us. And you know what I mean? It's like there's this real sense of us and them still. And
it's almost like I see it as like a reflex, almost. It's just still this kind of
of course
automatic response for a lot of people who maybe haven't taken the time to think. Think hard on it.
Yeah, they're not thinking.
Yeah.
That's part of what I'm saying is it's programming.
Yeah.
And it's programming that, says that anybody with long hair, it's so crazy to think like that, but there's plenty of people in America who still make that judgment. They're like, ooh, that person is not cut the same way I am. Therefore, they are wrong, and I have the right to shake my finger at them or drive them out of my community. It's just kind of animal tribalism stuff. And it's unfortunate, but it's still quite prevalent, especially with the, the rise of the Trumpy types. It's really given them a collective way to be buttheads. And feel great about it.
No
and,
doubt.
it's just like, oh gosh, it's not, we've run backwards quite a bit, I think, in trying to be more inclusive to all sorts of people. And, which is, when you take 4 steps back, there's going to be a big shot forward at some point,
Yes.
I don't despair too much.
Progress is being made, It is. It's like a deep vein that runs through Americana. That every once in a while something comes along, a leader or a figure or an issue that's kind of pulls back the covers on it, you know, and you can see that it's still very much alive.
Yes.
Those, you know,
Yep.
it's for me, it's surprising when I tend to feel like we've extinguished a lot of that, but it's pretty intrinsic to human.
Heck yeah.
Human
No, that's part of
consciousness, you know.
that's part of education. You know, I think that consciousness and societal traditions are going to have to change at the fourth grade level. You know, you have to educate people, and that's where it's at. You know, we need to address the youngsters in order to come up in a world where people are, including all brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And it's really hard to deal with the 35-year-old buttheads. They're pretty kind of beyond help. You gotta go for the children and kind of like, hey, let's teach kindness. Let's teach mindfulness, you know, and boy, do those rednecks hate that shit. It's like, what's that word you just used? Like, what's that airy-fairy
So
shit?
threatening.
It's so threatening. I know. So I'm hoping that somehow we'll have wonderful miracle worker teachers that can make the waves we need to see in the future. Because it starts then. It starts with young people to make a true change in society, I think. So it takes a while. It takes generations.
Yes.
You know, to get past this pain and fear and feeling entitled to punish someone for being different, you know.
Do you feel hopeful?
Of course, yeah, I totally do. I think everything, everything rises, and we're all on a trajectory of increasing our vibration and approaching whatever it is. That's part of the path of life, I feel like, is that you're always on a trajectory that's up. Even if it's a spiral and you feel like you're going back down, you're always kind of ratcheting up and in your learning and your vibration. You know, I do trust that. You know, I bank on that sometimes when I'm having a bad trip too.
Well, that makes me think about, I mean, what role did psychedelics and, your experiences when you reflect play in that orientation that you carry towards life, that faith, and that perception of life as an awakening process? Do you feel like they were fundamental in that?
Oh,
and
definitely.
if so,
My psychedelic experience, yeah.
How so?
Well, just my experiences. I think I've been blessed with a lot of good experiences, and so I have a lot of buildup of reinforcement of the good, which is really, I was blessed with that. So I didn't get shit on too hard as a kid. I got a ton of beautiful energy by being part of the Grateful Dead scene, and I was the cute little kid that everybody loved. And I look back on that and I'm like, man, I was so lucky to be amongst so many people who were turned on and were full of new love and were experiencing something new. And I got to be like bathed in that, energetically.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So even though it was new territory,
yeah,
you had this wonderful bubble of love.
I feel that.
Right,
I mean,
you felt safe and you felt good.
No, I was in the midst of my world. I had full run of the place. I could go anywhere I wanted, and everybody knew me. And you know what I mean? I was being raised by a tribe, and it was a very nice experience. And I was very lucky. Nothing traumatic happened, really. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It could have.
Sure.
But I have good guardian angels, I guess. And because things could have, gone so many different directions. But I feel like that we were protected by good angels somehow. Because it was very chaotic. And, a lot of young people making stupid decisions. And yet, here you come out the other side and just like, wow, can't believe we made it through that.
Yeah, I imagine it was so normalized for you in a sense that you weren't even, your view on how on the edge you actually were.
Right.
Maybe didn't even come into view until
I had
get some context. Or...
Yeah, it was interesting kind of becoming self-aware like that, because there were so many people looking into our flower, and I'm just in the flower, And I'm looking out, just going, why is everyone so interested in this flower? Like, it's just my family, you know, what's the big deal, you know? And they're like, oh my God, could you please give this note to Jerry, you know? And I'm like, why? What is he, you know, what's so big about him? I didn't understand.
Really?
Anyway, you know, it's just kind of a wild thing to become self-aware of, like, who we were, and that what I was part of was so unique, you know. That took a long time to really understand, you know, like that was
I imagine
so different, and you know, I didn't get raised to really throw my weight around or, you know, use power like that, and so I didn't really know that I was powerful. Whereas some other kids who grew up in the rock and roll world, man, they knew how to throw their weight around. And you know, get whatever they wanted backstage, or like demand a limo ride or whatever. And I was like, I never even considered stuff like that. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just never even thought about it.
It's one of the many beautiful things about you.
Oh, bless you. Thanks.
Really. Well, even just the tribalism is such a unique experience in Americana. Though, you know, growing up with this extended family of friends, you know, that you could trust and that played a part in your upbringing,
Yep.
you know, and how that was all, you know, woven with your exposure to psychedelics.
Yep.
That's super unique. Most people don't ever have that in our culture.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah, I think my parents, you know, my dad's way of being so available and having an ever-growing group, posse, or whatever you want to call it, like constant, you know, he was very much like to work in collectives, you know, and have lots of people involved. And so he really fostered a lot of connections and made people feel welcome anytime they were passing through Eugene. You know, they were to come stay there, you know, sort of like the Underground Railroad. My dad's place was part of the Underground Railroad for weird artists.
Yeah,
you know what I
fully.
mean?
That's remarkable to me.
So I benefited by that, by getting to know a lot of interesting people's kids and becoming
your
friends with
exposure
them.
to different people, different kinds of humans, right?
Right. Well, and then, you know, us kids, we're just made to go, you guys go be kids together, and the important people will be over here talking at the table.
Oh,
you know,
okay,
and,
okay. There's some segregation from the adults. That was pretty...
Well, not like that. I'm just saying that I wasn't conscious of any famous people. I was just playing with the kids, as kids do. And then you become friends, and then you are family after that. You know what I mean?
Simple as that,
yeah. You're just, once you have connected your kids, they're going to be friends for the rest of their lives. Their kids' kids will be friends. And that's what's happened in our scene.
Yeah.
You know, those connections have maintained all these years, even with my dad being gone. You know, it's a huge extended family, and it's part and parcel because people traveled with their kids. If it had just been all professional and they were just all adults meeting all the time, that wouldn't be the same network of passing on that friendship, you know. So it's kind of a family thing, you know, and people would, you know, actually drop kids off at my dad's place for the summer, and because he had a big farm and wasn't afraid of, you know, being, you know, the big, you know, papa of everybody, tell everybody what to do. And so people are like, really? You know, teach my kid how to actually use a shovel? Great. Here you go. And so, yeah, he'd put us all to work and teach us how to have a good time and work hard. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And so that was just kind of it. Like, there was all these different connections of families, and we're all connected through having played together as kids. And that's really lucky, you know. I feel lucky about that, because that doesn't always happen with, like, extended contacts of things, you know. And I don't know that happened in a lot of other, like, rock and roll bands' families. You know, we're all very still connected to each other in ways, you know. You know, some people are, you know, I don't know, some people have wandered far from our solar system, but if they ever showed back up, they'd be right back into our circle, you know.
The enduringness of the friendships and the bonds is really inspiring and remarkable to me.
Right
about
on,
those
right
circles.
On. Yeah, it is pretty remarkable. I'm very happy for it. It makes up for a lot of dislocation in family of things always being kind of different and not stable.
Yeah,
The
some of the
instability
cost of that. Huh?
Yeah, the instability of show business and being like a circus where you're just kind of on the move, and that makes it doable to have that kind of extended family feeling. That anywhere you are, there's somebody you're going to find like, hey, we're back in New York right now, and their kids that you played with last summer are here, and you just feel suddenly you're like, oh, we're all part of the same group, and we can crash on your floor. We'll be welcome, and whatever.
And it doesn't always go down that way, I've always perceived that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, as it was an expression of psychedelic values. That the band was really approaching life and music with.
Right. Psychedelic values.
Yeah.
I don't know what those might be.
Well, when I say that, what comes to your mind? I know they're different for everybody.
Psychedelic values. I don't know. I think that's laying a lot on psychedelics. Because psychedelics are just a tool, and we are the thing that it's activating. So whatever it is that we have recently been awakened to would be whatever individual new value you've gotten.
That's exactly how I view it. Like when I think about like what matters to me in my adult life, and what are the most fundamental things that I navigate my life with, I can trace them to early, awakening type experiences with psychedelics, and connections where I would discover, the meaningfulness of something, in life for myself. Discovering the sanctity of life, firsthand, in a way that was palpable enough to make me want to start adjusting the decisions I made.
Yeah, right on.
And loving kindness, coming from a place of discovering the inherent underlying connectedness of all of us. That was from some of the peak experiences, that touching on that vision of oneness. And once you've glimpsed that, it's hard to not care for to attempt to care for everything around you, and see how one affects the other, and to want to be a caretaker. Right.
Yeah, or to just do your best to leave the place a better place, whatever it is, wherever you found yourself. You can just leave it a little bit better than you found it.
That's right.
Kind of the way I've approached my journey through this place. If I can do anything, at least I could do that. and I'm trying to, shed any bullshit as I go too, and definitely psychedelics helps do that in a big way, to do a big house cleaning inside.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I haven't done it in a while either, so I'm kind of behind on that. But I did big ones earlier in life, which helped set me up to not get too strung out on shit, luckily.
Like to keep your perspective on things?
Keep my perspective and not get too hung up on... And also, losing someone early in life. When I lost my brother when I was like 18, that slapped me around like a, big psychedelic trip too. But I also started psychedelics right around then too. So I think I integrated a lot of life change, value change in myself at that point.
Oh, wow.
It made me, all my values changed at that point. I just decided, things that you experience when you lose a loved one, which is that you really feel like any moment that you're not expressing love is a total waste. You know what I mean?
I do.
And so that just translates to a psychedelic, one of those realizations that you have. And,
yes.
And so, I have to remind myself that all the time, of course, but it's in there, I realized, and it snapped me around, it made me, it changed who I was, and made me not chase after ambitions that I might have, which maybe my, parents might have been a little disappointed, but I was like, I just don't think that's really valuable anymore. I changed, my values changed. I just was like, man, it's more important to be authentic to yourself and available to the people you love, and not chasing these ego dreams of a career of something, which I had, been kind of forming for myself.
Feeling out for
who
yourself.
Who am I going to be? I'm going to college, all this, what am I doing? And, but it really snapped me around to make me, I don't know, abandon some of the trappings of your regular middle class American stuff.
And then you psychedelics, your bigger for early experiences were coming on the heel of that.
Right at the same time. They're,
How were they working together? I mean, they were tools? It sounds like in your integration of that experience of your brother passing away and.
Yeah, I mean, it all happened at the same time, and thankfully so, because that was a lot to deal with, because it kind of fractured my family too, and I went off to college, and I was on my own whirlwind.
Oh, on your own to deal with the mourning and stuff in a lot of ways. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
That's fine, and I think that my psychedelic experiences really helped give me confidence that that we are all, I hadn't lost anything really when my brother died, it was an illusion, that lost part, even though we had to go through it and the grieving and everything, and that was good for me to experience. But then I came out the other side and was like, he's right next to me all the time.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I really got it.
Okay.
And
the spirit, like a perception of a spiritual nature of life outside of the physical, huh?
Well, just realizing that physical experience is this thing that we choose to do for some reason or another. And, we're the ones that are in the weird, like, TV show, and everybody else is in this, the big, crazy, beautiful, castle in the sky, whatever you want to say. I don't know what to call it. But, the other movie that's, like, more dimensional and has better color than this one. Whatever it is.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
You can bet on that.
So it's obvious that that's the, primary compared to the one we're in right now.
Well, it's obvious to you.
It is obvious to me.
Yes.
Because I've experienced enough stuff on the other side to realize that this is just a faded shadow of that, and we're kind of muddling through in our ego space for some reason.
For mysterious reasons.
Yeah, for mysterious reasons.
That we will
we're
discover.
Doing the best we can, and maybe it's for the entertainment of someone. And I'll try to do my best to put on a good show. I don't know.
Well, that's an incredible gift once you grasp that perspective, because it puts the things of this life really in their place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as like, not taking things as seriously, and just enrolling with things in a different way.
Yeah.
It's really one of the great teachings I've taken from my psychedelic experiences.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Get perspective, and not get so enmeshed in the little life, like the little mouse, like the Native American stories of the little mouse down. There's some great stories about the jumping mouse and how, it's an allegory for yourself of being way too focused on details and down in this little, like, cross-eyed vision of the world. And then, realizing that if you just jump up a little bit, you'll see over all the grass, and you're just like, oh my God, whoa,
That's
look at this enormous world. Like, what am I doing? Why am I tripping out on this, these little bits of seeds down here?
Look up.
Yeah, look up and just, realize that there's more to this than you can get so focused, and it's good to pull back and
gravity.
Realize. Yeah.
It's like there's always up. That's how I always put it when I would try to describe what you just talked about. And it's like, you don't even have to know what else is up. You don't have to have specifics, but whatever you're dealing with, you've seen that it's a spectrum.
Yes.
That goes in both directions.
That's right.
And that's a tremendous gift. Mm-hmm. I've come to appreciate that as time's going on.
Yeah.
Because there's a liberation in that.
Yep.
You know, whatever vibration you're at, you know that you can always change it, because
Right.
you know, otherwise I would feel pretty trapped in life.
Yeah.
If I thought I was on a ceiling, where I was
Yeah.
at was a ceiling that I couldn't budge past.
Right,
You know,
right.
but
Yeah.
psychedelics show you that there really aren't. Those ceilings do not exist.
No, exactly.
They're only
I
in
know.
your mind.
Our ideas of rooms and 3D spaces are silly.
That's right.
Yeah, I had this thought recently about, you know, when you feel just so trapped in your scene and you just feel up against it and you almost feel like you can't breathe. You know, you're just like, Jesus, I feel like I've done, somehow I want to jump out of my skin. You know, you're just so uncomfortable in your own self. You know, and I've seen other people experience that. I know what that feels like. And I had this experience where I just kind of imagined myself like in a nitrous balloon, just like shoved up against the edge of the inside of the balloon, just like, Jesus Christ, I'm so expanded that there's nowhere else to go. I'm like up against it, you know. And then it's like, yeah, but you can just turn around and face the inside of the balloon. And stop sitting there and panicking that you're pushed up against the edge of your reality, you know. It's like, hey man, just turn around.
Yeah.
You got a whole nother like freaking F-180 back here,
That's
dude.
right, man. It's just a click or two on the dial.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Just turn it around. Stop panicking.
Oh man, that changes life. You know, that changes life.
Right,
man.
knowing that you can do that for
Right?
yourself.
Right.
And I, you know, because obviously I still have anxiety and can get really wound up and kind of talk myself into a corner. And then I realize I've done that to myself. And I'm just like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm like hyperventilating and shit. I was like, really? Like, hello?
Right.
I like have endless space.
Yeah.
You know, I think I've just trapped myself in a corner and it just is a total creation.
And that's where people get really stuck in that illusion. You know, that there isn't more than what they're in.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
So yeah,
That's a big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like somehow we're afraid of looking back inside of ourselves, and yet it's the biggest space we have. You know, it's the final frontier, our inner space, and it's huge. You know, it's. You know,
And it's ours.
And it's ours.
Right?
And it's free.
Maybe our only one true
yeah,
possession.
You don't
yeah?
even have to pay for a subscription.
Totally, man. Yeah. Go peeking around corners, man. It's all right.
You know.
What's in this cabinet? Woo! Nice. Can you summarize any of your greatest enduring lessons? I mean, that was a great example. Is there anything else that pops up that serves you? That serves you to this day?
Well, like one of my first really intense experiences, psychedelic experiences, was out in deep nature alongside a beautiful river on an ancient trail, and we were trying to find these hot springs, and we just ate too much acid.
Really?
Yeah. And we were having a hard time finding the switchbacks in the trail. You know, I was just like, dang, it was just like one of those switchbacks.
Where'd the trail go?
Yeah, it's like, God dang it, we keep missing the switchback. Like, where is it? And I didn't even care. I was like, I'm a deer now. I don't care.
I'm trudging on.
But the people I was with were like, we need to know where the car is, you know. But that night...
Careful who you trip with, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, they did get me back at the car. I probably would have wanted to be back at the car by dawn when I was cold and wet. But I was just like,
well, that's handy.
I was ready to just crawl under a log and become a deer. You know, I was just like, I'm just crawling under the log like a little fawn. I'm totally cool. But it was formative for me. It taught me. I mean, it was a big trip. I learned a whole lot about the way nature organizes itself, and how awake everything is in nature, and how unformed nature is until we look at it, which is really weird. That was a trip, to notice just everything was in total flux, and it was just energy, like pure energy. Like a tree itself was just a fountain of energy that I could see in the night. And the minute I looked at it, it would freeze into a shape, and it didn't like it. I could feel its vibes. It was like, man, you just looked at me. You just ruined my whole dance.
I had so much potential.
Yeah, and so somehow humans freeze things with our perception, is the way I felt, and that our impact on nature is significant, our consciousness. And I ran into weird artifacts from other people's consciousness out on the trail too.
Energetic artifacts?
Energetic artifacts that were just kind of standing there, like weird things that had got left behind, you know. It was a trip.
Describe one.
It was just like a weird thing in the trail that was standing, like wasn't alive or anything. It was like a leftover energy form that was just almost like, just architectural.
Okay.
So my eyes get pretty wide in the night. I see a lot of energy, and I get pretty open to a lot of information that's visual energy, and so it's wonderful to see, the trees and the flower, the trees and the grasses, and that they all have eyes, and that they're all fully cognizant of you, and they're like, finally, are you waking up and coming to the party? We've been like waiting. You're like so slow. Like, gee whiz. Hello, you guys. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've been stomping all over you.
Isn't that something when you see that?
Yes.
Oh God. That'll change your life.
Yes.
In the best of ways.
Totally. And so I really realized that I'm surrounded by living things all the time, and that we are the bumbling weirdos that step on everything, and that they have to endure us, to a certain extent, because we're so asleep still, and just really stomping around and just, not really good actors out there in the nature land. It's like, oh man, did you really crush all that? We took like 1,000,000 years to go that,
Right. But yet they're so generous in their their forgivingness.
Exactly.
And
that's
it's so remarkably patient.
Yeah, because they're still connected to the source. You know what I mean? It's like it is eternal, and so there is really no loss, even though they personally, as entities that are somehow consciously part of this network of life, are responding. Maybe it's my own projection. I don't know, but it seems like I get the messages that that they're really rooting for us to like come up the levels so that we can all interact and communicate properly, because like we're the slow ones, we're the Johnny come lately here to the, they're just like, come on man, we're really waiting for you to get with it so we can all talk to each other and be participating in all of this information passing that's happening all the time. It's pretty impressive when you witness it. Like, I was like, holy crap, all that info. Like, I remember one time seeing the trees were like moth antenna,
Oh, like the fuzzy.
Yeah, they were like a moth antenna. And I could just see how much information they were catching all this information, just like as if it were a sea creature that was catching little algae and stuff. These trees are just catching information and then transmitting it down into their roots and out into their brothers and sisters. And that was like, I could see it all happening, how quickly this information is being shared.
And communicated.
Oh, it's amazing. And I could hear the trees talking to each other. They sounded like little old ladies, just like gossiping and talking and complaining.
You did take a lot of acid, didn't you?
Yep. Well, that was another time when there had been a terrible windstorm, a different situation, and I was high, and I had been out trying to put everything away because this huge windstorm was coming, and all these trees were being knocked over right in our front yard.
Oh, actively.
Huge trees were coming down, and I was really high. It was a Halloween night, and so after the drama of all the trees going down, all the electricity's off, and it's just like, whew, oh my God, what's happening? And
I think LSD attracts storms.
Oh hell yeah!
Right?
No, I mean that's
like a lightning rod.
We are electromagnetic energy, and so is the Earth, and so we have quite a if we're feeling our energy, we have quite an energetic field. We are quite powerful, and the earth is very responsive to us. I've experienced that lots of times. If I really tune into it, like the ocean, like I can go to the ocean, and it'll be just a little placid thing, no waves at all, and then you get there and you're like, hi ocean, and it's like, oh boy, and little waves come up and it's like happy to see you, and you totally get this feeling that it is aware of you and happy to see you.
That's right.
Isn't
that something?
Yeah, it's
I call it the miracle of miracles.
It is.
'Cause it's such a mystery that it is that way.
Right. And I don't know why we have to be so surprised all the time. But,
Really?
You know what I mean?
I
know. It's like it is our mother,
Yeah, right.
We did come springing from this thing.
Jeez.
We are a creation of it.
That's the most natural thing ever.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, it is the energy force for which all things spring that's in the 3D, and probably other dimensions that we can't seem to participate in yet. But there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, we're conscious, and we are, a child of.
Yep.
So, of course, we have the same attributes.
Exactly.
Right?
I know. That's right. No, we are the tadpoles, and it is the giant frog.
That's right.
And we should realize that, that we are just, we are the small fry, and there are bigger beings at work. And, so
that's another big one that psychedelics taught me. Was just there's always more you don't know than you know.
Right. I know.
And how that's the seed of really all wisdom.
Yep.
Because it's just perpetual openness.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't think you got to figure it out, man, because it goes way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Every which way,
it turtles all the way down forever.
That's right. So that whole thing about following your bliss is really true. I mean, because you can just go a million directions, but you should follow the thing that turns you on.
There's a reason it turns you on.
Right. It has something for you. It has some medicine for you, and so follow that. Whatever it is. And I have to relearn that all the time.
For sure. Yeah.
That you have to keep finding out what it is that gives you joy, because that's currency. I think for yourself. The thing that turns you on, and we have to make that part of our quest every day, like providing that, like coffee or something.
And we'll work at it in our culture, right? Because we don't have the really external support encouraging that in a lot of ways. So it's like you have to constantly, rediscover and practice and integrate. We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
About the integration aspect of it, where you have to redo. Nothing outside of you will do it for you.
Right.
And trust me, it's perfect that way. Because if it wasn't that way, someone would come in and try to round up all of that thing that got everyone awake, and they try to hoard it away and own it and guard it and charge for it, but the thing is it's free.
That's right.
And it's just about a relationship with but the ingredient, the key ingredient is that within you, the willingness, the intention to move forward and to grow. Right. Yeah. Psychedelics won't do that for you. They give you really good glimpses that you can get a lot of juice out of, but it's up to you. It's up to you, folks.
Yeah.
And it takes practice.
Yeah, it really does. It takes holding on to those things as a true bubble of hope, for yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a trip. I'm glad that I get to, reinvestigate myself all the time, because I know that there is no true one way, or every time is a new thing. Trying to not have too many preconceptions about what we're doing, because God, we might learn something totally new soon. I don't know.
How about that? Yeah. I mean, hallelujah for that, man.
Yeah.
And the nature of the universe is ever birthing. Ever new. It's the nature of life itself.
Right.
I remember one of my greatest psychedelic experiences. I took a couple really simple teachings away from that I can just still share to this day, word for word. It's remarkable. It was, whatever is in your hand, seek me there, and you'll find me. And, and for me, when I in that context, me for myself was the divine, my source that I was longing for a relationship with. But I just dug that message so much because it was so inclusive and so universal. There wasn't like, mantra, do 20 mantras and be a vegetarian and then you'll find me. It was,
exactly.
It went out to everyone equally, wherever you find yourself, whether you're, building a house or smoking a joint or, if you orient yourself towards that action, because the divine is woven into every fiber. Yeah. You will find it there.
That's right.
Yeah.
I came back from I think it was a nitrous hit one time with a nugget.
Right.
And it was...
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I was like, I actually held on to it and brought it back from the other side, which was look to yourself, and that really helped me. It was just like, it's all within, there is nothing outside that you need to go trucking after or think that it's going to come from some other person or anything, even the drug, it's just like it's all within. These are just keys to access your inner resource, whatever,
that you're already packing with you.
Yeah, right. Our own highway of mycelium back to the big mushroom. We're all connected, and we don't need to go out and search for it. It's right inside of us,
And at best, psychedelics are just reminders of that. They're a lens back onto that core truth, which is the thing. And as Bob Dylan recently said, I contain multitudes. I always dug that. I don't think Dylan wrote, I don't think he wrote that, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Man. Yep. Any before we wrap it up, is there any, did you, any fallout or any, potential kind of pitfalls along the way, kind of growing up in a psychedelic scene like that you are aware of? I know at some point hard drugs kind of started coming in. And I've always been fascinated by the relationship between, when people segue, people who've really had some, done some really deep psychedelic work, start getting into, harder drugs that tend to kind of be the opposite of what. Yeah. What are your views on that? Were you that aware of that at the time? Or?
I haven't really experienced that myself.
Yeah, I've never really been around that either.
I think that psychedelics seem to me have kind of been a great way to lure people away from that kind of behavior, just because of self-awareness.
Okay. That has an anti-addictive kind of aspect to it.
Well, it's self-awareness.
Right.
So if you're like, I feel like shit, and I feel like I don't feel right unless I have a drink or whatever. I think when you're high, I imagine you can't escape that very good.
You're more aware that you're fucking up.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So
can't hide it as easily.
Right. It makes you more self-aware at best. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who do lots of escapism kind of journeys, which
even with psychedelics.
Oh, heck yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to ponder, right?
I imagine, there's tons of ketamine folks out in the world that, I don't know what ground they're plowing, if they're really pioneering into themselves or if they're just at the mall.
Disassociated.
Yeah.
At the mall. At the Astral Mall.
At the Astral Mall, just, dinking around, which is totally fine. No
I'll deal with my body later.
Yeah, right. And that's, that's a whole other thing. I don't know. I haven't had a whole lot of experience with that, but I've known plenty of people who were psychedelic that went on to end up having bad troubles with addictions.
Same, which is interesting because it seems, it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, but that, tells you maybe that the integration of their psychedelic experiences was not complete.
That's a good theory.
Because a lot of times you do a lot of healing on psychedelics, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of addiction is because of people not feeling healed inside,
Unsorted pain, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's my take is that people are still suffering a feeling of separation from their own self and their own divinity, and you'd think they would have gotten to it by now.
Yeah,
after doing lots of psychedelics.
And if they are truly helpful, that's where the help would show. That's where it would show up, evidence of it. You know what I mean?
But Yeah, so I don't know. I know plenty of people, you know, that's the thing too, is I think a lot of people who suffer addiction are really wonderful, sensitive, intelligent people who just don't have the tools to deal with their inner pain.
Yeah.
And that's a failure of our culture, unfortunately. You know, I think that a lot of music and dancing has been a good avenue to deal with that. I think music and dancing, you know,
working it out, dancing it out, huh?
It's just a historically part of human culture.
You're right. It's an ancient
over
right.
thousands of years.
Yeah.
And that's how we deal with getting together and expressing our feelings together.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I got to experience it through the Grateful Dead.
Sure did.
And so it's neat. You know, it wasn't a 1,000-year-old tradition. It kind of got created new a little bit, but it's something that humans have relied on for thousands of years to, you know, experience connection to their brothers and sisters, and to really feel beautiful and feel feel like you're rising.
That's right.
You know?
A shared ecstatic experience,
ecstatic,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Coming out of their small self.
Yep, to just touch and taste that ecstasy just for a minute. You know, that's been the avenue for so many cultures.
As have psychedelics.
Right.
I think there's this illusion,
Totally.
kind of this wool pulled over our eyes thing that Prohibition accomplished.
Right.
Which is tricking a lot of people to think that this is like some new public health scourge, you know? It's like, no, this is actually like one of the most fundamental human, you know,
exactly.
It's just something we do as a species. Animals do it too. They get
No, they love to change their consciousness.
You can't beat that out, or you can't bust that out of a species, you know?
Yep, we all love to catch a buzz.
That's right. Nothing wrong with that, folks. Just don't get hurt or hurt anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Or crash machinery. Well, that was always a paradox to me, because I know a lot of people like that too who got into who got into hard drugs in a way that was problematic, who were deeply psychedelic people.
Right.
And I've thought about it a lot, and I understand it now, because I think if there's one thing I could go back and tell my 14-year-old self, you know, who was just turning on, it would be, this is the conversation I'd have. I'd sit down and go, hey man, look, this desire within you to discover life and the mystery and love and the nature of love, it's like, go for it. It's beautiful. You know, do it. But just know, if you do, and you start opening those doors and you start understanding those things, it can be a hard and lonely and painful world, you know? And that, don't invite that until you have the fortitude to walk with that, you know? And and I think a lot of people who get in the heart, like things like opiates and stuff, after opening themselves so much, truly do have very awakened hearts and great sensitivities, but they have to then, those doors are there for a reason. I think that's also what I'm trying to say, is like I used to see them as something that obstacles to be melted down.
Right.
But now that I'm older, I see that they're actually gifts,
right.
You know, to function in a world that doesn't really support the sanctity of life in the ways that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're kind of like survival little barriers.
Right.
And you can strip them away. The keys are there to do it.
Yeah.
But with that, there's going to be a lot of pain, because there's a lot of suffering in the world. And if you know, every blade of grass is so exquisite and precious, you know, it's a hard world to walk in.
Yeah.
You know? And so people reach for those things to dial down the knob and feel less. You know, I know a lot of very sensitive people that very open from acid who started using opiates, and I think that was a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, to cope.
That's sad. Yeah, no, I dig it.
You know.
No, life can be excruciating.
Indeed.
You know?
Especially if you've opened yourself up so much, right? And you love things so much.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it takes chutzpah to be down here on this plane.
Sure
and,
does.
We're all here together for some purpose, and we're incarnating here on purpose, you know, and so I don't really think anything is, you know, a misfire, but there sure is a lot of suffering around,
growing pains.
I don't know. I think it's the nature of the theater that we're in. This is the theater of the soul, and we have to go through some things that seem just awful, 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 but they're really an illusion too. You know, it's just part of this weird holodeck reality that we have to experience all these things in.
Yes.
You know, and then we'll wake up from it and just go, wow, that was all a crazy freaking soul dream, you know.
Come on, let's go again.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take the ticket again. That was fun.
That's right.
You know, but, you know.
Cosmic hide and go seek.
But it is very challenging for a lot of people, and that's why there's suicide. And, you know, I'm so sorry for people who are that desperate and suffering that hard.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could help folks who are lost from themselves. I really do. That is
Same.
a dream of mine.
Same.
And if it's in music or dance, you know, then let's do it. You know, if we can, or going for that long walk, you know, just to get your brain screwed on right again. You know, I feel for so many people who are really having a hard time.
That's especially now.
Yeah.
Big reason why we're here right now, y'all.
Yeah.
And just know out there, you're hearing our voice. It's like it may seem like it, but just if you can hold on to one thing, you are not alone, and you are so loved. And you know your pain is real, but you're not alone in it.
Yeah,
And we care.
Yeah. Life is an excruciating experience, but it's excruciatingly beautiful too.
Yes.
You know, and so it's an amazing experience to be able to shift your consciousness from one experience to the next and see that you can do that and just go from like, oh my God, I'm on fire, but if I just change my brain over here, I'm actually blooming. That wasn't fire after all, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know what
yes,
I mean?
yes. If you can trust it, even if you don't see why,
Yeah.
if you can just trust it, folks, I
Yeah.
promise you,
Yeah.
it's forging you into something beautiful and
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah, and we already are that. We just have to meet ourselves.